morning from me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be back at the Athens Energy Summit. I'm honored to moderate a very interesting panel concerning the water nexus. Water is becoming increasingly important in all industrial activities, especially as far as energy is concerned. But before we start the main topic, I will ask Dr. Eitan Lasri to make a short introduction.
Thank you.
You'll have a few minutes, 4 minutes, please.
I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to speak on behalf of Israeli market and representatives here. Despite some issues, defense issues we face these days, we try to be more effective and connect other countries around us to cooperate and bring some good results for the region. I have a short message from the Israeli Energy Minister, Mr. Eli Cohen, who met the Minister of Environment and Energy of Greece. During the conversation, they agreed to increase cooperation in joint projects between the two countries, including the undersea power cable that will connect Israel to Cyprus and from there to Greece, and the Israeli-Europe natural gas pipeline project. We are connecting Israel to Europe through Greece, diversifying Europe's energy sources in the midst of an energy crisis and strengthening Israel's position in the region. Israel gas gives a significant political power to the region. Not to mention that in the year of the project is completed, it will generate about $2 billion for Israel market. At the end of the day, there is an American strategy to our region to create an alternative infrastructure route to the Chinese and Iranian route. And there is a talk of a road from India to Europe. Israel is the exit point from Asia, and Greece is the absorption point for Europe. We are actually strengthening the link within the framework of the American vision, which are fortunately a part of this also interests of the Indians too. Later, it needs to pass through the Gulf countries such as Emirates, whom we are in excellent relations, and the Saudi Arabia, whom we are in still negotiation diplomatic way. The framework of Abraham Accords that Netanyahu discussed with Mr. President Trump yesterday. And energy is one of the key for life and political stability for our region in this project. The Asian Middle East Forum, Israel, Cyprus, and Greece and India, as the leaders declared, including involving India and the US in the regional forum, we want to examine the options of supplying gas from the Eastern Mediterranean to the Europe area. The three leaders emphasized, Israel, Greece, and Cyprus, when they met recently, they emphasized the importance of the involving of United States providing the assistance to this area by energy, economy, climate, emergency, and fight against terrorism. Netanyahu suggests to expand the framework and add India, and he said that the Abraham Accords will expand and include Saudi Arabia inside. We hope to see it very soon. Israel technological leverage, there's conditions to achieve results significant to our area revolutions in the field of energy and water to the world. Israel establishment as a forefront of global technologies in many fields, with emphasis on the two, also affect the assimilation of the advanced technologies to traditional industries, achieved thanks to the link-up of the human capital and knowledge from Israeli high-tech to industry in the Europe. And meantime, for the continued growth of innovation is continuing encouragement and investments as a human factor support of assistance to the state and, of course, our regional. The strength of the Israeli high-tech industry these days emphasize vertical artificial intelligence and creating the groundbreaking solutions to problems in various fields. There are currently about 2,200 technology companies operating in Israel, core research and development of routes. I'm finishing. Israeli Innovation Authority sees the importance of this, and the Israeli market and young engineers can bring the new trends on the energy, including water and other projects together. So I will answer later for some issues. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eitan Lasri, CEO of Etgar, a leading Israeli company working on strategic technological solutions. Let me now introduce the subject and our speakers. First of all, I will say a few things about the water-energy nexus. Water is becoming increasingly important as energy demand grows and as we branch out to different technological solutions for energy. So we use water for power generation, thermal power, hydropower, oil and gas extraction, a lot of water, especially fracking, biofuels, coal mining processing, just to mention a few. And then we have energy for water when we have water extraction and distribution. I mean, to use all this water, we have actually to secure we have adequate resources, water treatment, and water heating. So it's not surprising that regulators, as you will hear in a minute, are now covering, in most parts of the world, water resources and treatment. Now, I'd just like to say a few words about our distinguished speakers. On my left, Dr. Athanasios Dagoumas. He is the long-standing president of the Regulatory Authority for Energy, Waste and Water. And waste and water, as he'll tell you, have been added over the last 2 years, signifying the importance of this matter. Dr. Vassilis Deligiannis is the general manager of ENOIA, a well-known engineering company specializing on industry and energy and water. Mr. Konstantinos Eleftheriadis, he is partner of energy resources and industrial sector at Deloitte. Deloitte needs no introduction. And of course, Dr. Eitan Lasri, whom you just heard. So, Dr. Dagoumas, you have the floor.
Thank you for the introduction and for the invitation. First of all, it's very important to clarify that over the last 2 years, we have extended our responsibilities on waste and water. And this is because there is a trend in many countries, advanced countries, that water and the waste, as together as energy, are seen as resources and are seen as part of the cyclical economy. So in that sense, we see that waste and water are resources that can be used for multiple purposes. For example, water can be used, of course, for drinking purposes, for irrigation, for industrial uses, and of course for electroproduction, and as well as for the needed pumping and storage issues that are needed in Greece and other countries. On the other hand, waste can be used also for meeting bio-waste targets as compost and for the needs for fertilizers. It can be used for meeting waste targets through production of electricity. It can be used for production of biogas and electroproduction. And if we absorb CO2 from biogas, we can have biomethane and then also meet targets on greening the natural gas resources. So in that sense, all these waste, water, and energy are considered as resources that should be shown in an integrated way. And in that sense, there is not a nexus between energy and water, but they are supplementally. This is the reason that our government supported the extension of our responsibilities in those two fields in order to see it in a more coherent way.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come back on that, and I will ask you more details about the regulation on water and treatment. So we now move to Mr. Konstantinos Eleftheriadis, to Dr. Vassilis Deligiannis. And perhaps you could enlighten us on the engineering aspects of the water-energy nexus.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ, κύριε Σταμπολή. Ήρθα εδώ να παρουσιάσω την ENOIA, μια εταιρεία μηχανικών που παρέχει υπηρεσίες πολυεπιστημονικών μελετών και διαχείρισης έργων με δραστηριότητα τόσο στην ενέργεια, τη βιομηχανία αλλά και τις υποδομές. Θα ήθελα αρχικά να σημειώσω ότι ως έννοια θα μπορούσαμε να συμμετέχουμε σε οποιοδήποτε πάνελ του Athens Energy Summit, καθώς μπορούμε να εκπροσωπήσουμε τις διάφορες πτυχές του τεχνικού μας έργου. Ωστόσο, σε συνεννόηση με τους διοργανωτές, τους οποίους θα ήθελα δημοσίως να ευχαριστήσω για αυτή την τιμητική πρόσκληση, επιλέξαμε να επικεντρωθούμε στο θέμα του νερού και της διασύνδεσής του με την ενέργεια, το Water Energy Nexus, διότι θεωρούμε ότι είναι κομβικό και άμεσα συνδεδεμένο με τη βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη, αλλά και με την επισιτιστική ασφάλεια, το food security. Ένα ζήτημα που δεν αφορά μόνο τις αναπτυσσόμενες ή ευάλωτες χώρες, αλλά όλες τις κοινωνίες παγκοσμίως. Τα τελευταία χρόνια βιώνουμε διαρκώς αυξανόμενα φαινόμενα ακραίων καιρικών καταστάσεων που κατά κύριο λόγο σχετίζονται με το νερό. Σύμφωνα με τα στοιχεία του Παγκοσμίου Μετεωρολογικού Οργανισμού αλλά και των Ηνωμένων Εθνών, το 74% των φυσικών καταστροφών μεταξύ 2001 και 2018 ήταν υδρολογικές. Πλημμύρες, ξηρασίες, καταιγίδες, άνοδος στάθμης της θάλασσας και όλα τα συνακόλουθα φαινόμενα διάβρωσης και καθιζήσεων. Τελευταίο παράδειγμα, στις φωνικές πυρκαγιές της Καλιφόρνια δεν υπήρχε έλλειψη νερού κατάσβεσης. Το νερό λοιπόν δεν είναι απλά ένα περιβαλλοντικό ζήτημα, αλλά ένα πολυδιάστατο πρόβλημα που επηρεάζει την ανθρώπινη ασφάλεια, την οικονομική δραστηριότητα και βεβαίως τη διατροφική επάρκεια. Στην Ελλάδα υπάρχει συχνά η εντύπωση ότι το νερό είναι άφθονο, καθώς όλοι έχουμε εικόνες από πλειάδα πηγών στα βουνά μας. Όμως δεν πρέπει να ξεχνάμε ότι σε πολλά νησιά, εδώ και δεκαετίες, οι κάτοικοι συλλέγουν βρόχινο νερό στις στέρνες τους ή βασίζονται σε ακριβές μεταφορές με υδροφόρες. Επιπλέον, ακόμα και στις ηπειρωτικές περιοχές, η ανεξέλεγκτη άντληση υπόγειων υδροφορέων και οι μεγάλες απώλειες στα δίκτυα, το λεγόμενο non-revenue water που περιλαμβάνει τόσο διαρροές όσο και υδροκλοπές, καταδεικνύουν ότι το πρόβλημα δεν είναι πολύ μακριά μας. Το ζητούμενο όμως σε αυτή την ημερίδα δεν είναι να σταθούμε μόνο στους κινδύνους, αλλά να προτείνουμε βιώσιμες λύσεις. Σε διεθνές επίπεδο, αξίζει να σημειωθεί το παράδειγμα των χωρών της Αραβικής Χερσονήσου, που λόγω της περιορισμένης διαθεσιμότητας πόσιμου νερού έχουν αναπτύξει προηγμένες τεχνολογίες αφαλάτωσης. Ως έννοια, έχουμε συμμετάσχει σε αρκετά έργα που συνδυάζουν την παραγωγή ενέργειας με την παραγωγή πόσιμου νερού και έχουμε αποκτήσει πολύτιμη τεχνολογία για αυτές τις μεθόδους. Στην Ελλάδα ειδικά παρατηρείται πλέον καθημερινά ένα πλεόνασμα πράσινης ηλεκτρικής ενέργειας, το οποίο συχνά δεν αξιοποιείται. Η παραγωγή νερού μέσω σύγχρονων μονάδων αφαλάτωσης, τροφοδοτούμενων από ανανεώσιμες πηγές, μπορεί να λειτουργήσει ως μια έμεση μορφή αποθήκευσης αυτής της περίσσιας ενέργειας. Δεν είναι άλλωστε τυχαίο ότι και η ΕΔΑΠ πρόσφατα ανακοίνωσε έργο αφαλάτωσης για την κάλυψη έως και του 30% των αναγκών για πόσιμο νερό της πρωτεύουσας, με πιθανή χωροθέτηση αυτού πλησίων σε μονάδες παραγωγής ενέργειας. Το Water Energy Nexus αναδεικνύει ακριβώς αυτή τη διασύνδεση. Για να προχωρήσουμε σε μια βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη, πρέπει να μειώσουμε τη χρήση νερού στον τομέα της ενέργειας, να βελτιώσουμε την ενεργειακή αποδοτικότητα των δικτύων ίδρευσης και ταυτόχρονα να εξασφαλίσουμε βιώσιμους, καθαρούς τρόπους κάλυψης των αναγκών για πόσιμο νερό. Παράλληλα, θα πρέπει να επικεντρωθούμε στη μέγιστη μείωση των απολειών στα δίκτυα, αλλά και στις επιλογές επαναχρησιμοποίησης νερού. Η ENOIA είναι εδώ για να προτείνει ολοκληρωμένες λύσεις και κλείνοντας, θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστήσω πολύ όλους και προσβλέποντας σε μια ενδιαφέρουσα συζήτηση για το πώς αυτές οι στρατηγικές συμπράξεις μπορούν να γίνουν για να διασφαλίσουμε τη βιωσιμότητα των υδάτινων και ενεργειακών πόρων προς όφελος τόσο της κοινωνίας αλλά και της οικονομίας γενικότερα. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Thank you. We thank you, Dr. Deligiannis, for a very explicit presentation on the importance of water, special emphasis on the desalination aspect, which is very, very crucial, especially for this part of the world. And now we move to Mr. Konstantinos Eleftheriadis, partner in Deloitte. Deloitte has a long-standing interest in energy. They have a very strong energy department covering the whole energy field. So we're eagerly awaiting what you have to say.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to participate in this panel. I think that water will become, in the future events, it will become a hot topic. It is already a hot topic, but I think that it will become even more hot when we realize what are the issues associated with water. I will sit a bit on the comment that Mr. Deligiannis made, that he said that we do not really see the shortage of water. And this is the reality. But if we take into consideration some factors, just to take into consideration that 80% of water goes for farming. And we have huge losses when we have water for farming, more than 50 or 60% maybe. And we have a schedule for the whole country to boost farming in Greece. So we need a substantial volume of water in order to meet our plans going forward. If we take also into consideration the fact that every tourist, they spend more than 500 liters per day that they are staying in Greece. So this means that if we shift from 30 million tourists to 40 million tourists that we want to achieve, this is a target for the country, we will need approximately 20 or 30 or 50 million cubic meters just for the increase of tourist flows, which is pretty much the consumption of a small city throughout the year. And above that, and on top of that, we have also to add the fact that the economic activity is rising. Our own consumption is rising because our wealth, the way of living is rising. So the overall consumption, the overall demand for water is becoming higher and higher. And this is something that we have not faced up until now, but it will be a serious issue in the years to come. And this wouldn't be an issue if we had the projects, if we had all the facilities in place and in the appropriate areas in Greece. But it seems that we have water in some regions and we have the needs in other regions. All tourists will go to the islands and we have nothing there. So there is a huge plan for new projects. But in reality, all these plans, they have taken place based on what we used to know 10 or 15 years ago. So we need to revisit the plan. And we need to revisit the plan for the whole country, not for a specific region. Also, I would like to say the fact that maybe we are one of the most fragmented countries in the Europe when we have to deal with water. We have more than 700 entities that they are dealing with water across all regions. And now I'm not even considering prefectures, municipalities, EIDAP, EIAF. So it's very, very fragmented. And the decisions are taking place at that level. This cannot continue. We cannot design a project in Attica while we have issues in Thessaloniki or in the islands. So we have to develop a more national strategic plan that will take into consideration the new models, new demand models. We have to take into consideration the impact from not having water across all economic activities. There was a study from Bank of Greece some years ago, and they said that with the expected rate of rains and floods and all the physical phenomena that Mr. Deligiannis mentioned, we might have an impact of 2% of our GDP every year. So the impact from water is huge, and we have to have a strategic plan, and we have to coordinate a bit better, and we have to follow also the example not only from the EU countries, but also from the European countries. We have to see what is happening, for example, in Ireland. What is happening in Czech Republic, what is happening in Poland. What they have done is that they have changed the structure of how they deal with water across the country, and they have tried to gather all capabilities and all actions at a more central level. I'm not saying that it is a master plan that fits everywhere, but it's something that we have to consider. We have to reorganize a bit how we are structured in order to deal with this huge issue, because in reality, the water assets may be even more than the energy assets, because we are discussing something about 15 to 20 billions of assets that we have to deal with.
Are you suggesting a centralized management system at the national level? How do you view this?
My view is that we should have at least a plan at the national level. Of course, it cannot be organized all at the national level, but we have regions, not prefectures, but regions, where we have all the water plants and all the designs for these regions. We have to organize a bit at a more central level, at a more national level, and we have to see this at a national plan, because in reality, we might have water in one region, and we might not have water in the other region. We have to see what projects are conflicting, because I have seen projects that one is at the top of one river and the other one is at the bottom of the one river. So we have to organize a bit and have synergies between the projects. We have to see all these and create something that it will be feasible and viable for the whole country.
Okay. Taking this as cue, I'd like to go to Dr. Dagoumas and ask him of how you think the regulation is going to take place in view of what Mr. Eleftheriadis said. I mean, where does the regulator exactly come in?
The regulator, the first responsibility that it has in both waste and water is to certify the waste management companies and the water management companies. Following a law that passed at the end of 2024, the waste management companies have been aggregated at 14. So we certified it, half of them that are capable of operating the business. On the water, this has not been done yet, and it's important to mention some figures. In Greece, we have 332 municipalities. About 60 of them are controlled, are in the responsibility of EIDAP and EIAF.
They have their own companies, their own water treatment companies.
No, they are the municipalities. Okay. The 60 belong to EIDAP and EIAF, okay. And the rest, 270, let's say half of them, not exactly half, have their own companies, and the other do not have their own companies within that, so they are messed within the municipalities. So in that sense, there do not exist even entities to certify. So there is now a discussion and political decision to aggregate those in fewer that can be most effective in operation. So this is the most important thing, the first thing that we have to do. Another issue that is very critical and has to do also with the energy and the losses. It's important that there exist losses in energy as well, of course, as in water. Usually, in the big entities, the losses are at the level of 20%, but the target should be less to be at the 10% level. And in remote areas and the smaller municipalities, the losses can be even 50% or even higher. So in that sense, we should work to make those operators very effective, and this will bring effective management and reduction of the cost for final consumers.
In this context, I'd like to ask Dr. Deligiannis how you view the contribution of companies like ENOIA in this process of certification and better operation.
In all the aspects that Dr. Dagoumas just mentioned as, let's say, the main issues of the existing networks, there are technology solutions, there are smart solutions of monitoring the existing network or replacing the existing network with better materials, with better solutions, because it is common, everybody knows that we have quite an old network in the majority of the country. So there are solutions, there are good examples. We have participated as ENOIA in all the potable water network of DIVA, the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, all over the years, and there we have achieved a non-revenue water of 6%. This is a quite, let's say, achievement for this area, and these are the figures that we have also to target in our systems.
Let me go to Dr. Eitan Lasri. In your initial remarks, you put emphasis on energy and how Israel can play a very important role, which we do appreciate, and we have anticipation on that. But you did mention anything about water as such, and Israel has a tremendous experience in desalination. Perhaps you'd like to comment
Yes.
on desalination and how Israeli technology and experience could actually help other countries in the region.
Thank you. As we know, the expenses of water and energy connecting together between 10 to 30% expenses water to energy and energy to water. And in Israel, our government invested a lot since we are in the desert. Israel is like, if you take Israel 100 years ago, it was a desert with a few places that the British mandate left to us to live in. So our government encouraged companies to invest in technology innovation for energy and inside it, water. So inside the energy, in the last 5 years, we raised $8 billion and in this 6 years. And only in 2022, we raised $2.5 billion for companies who got solutions for improving the water, securing the water, producing clean water, and transfer this from place to place. Since we have only a small lake called Kinneret, Sea of Galilee, where Jesus walked on the water there, and he left us a small lake to drink something. So our government couldn't lay on this lake and resources, so we produced desalination project since 25 years.
Do you happen to have any idea what percentage of drinkable water in Israel comes from desalination?
More than 45% for this moment. And once we had agreement with Turkey to buy water, and 10 years ago, Ankara and Istanbul had big losses, so we offered also to help. We have a new systems. I'm helping a company from Israel who produce water from air. It's called WaterGen. It's like air conditioned. They took a machine connecting electricity, producing water from air, clean water. You don't need to do anything. And we sell it to African countries, mainly because it's large countries. You don't have the pipelines, you don't have the infrastructure. So this company helping them to get boxes and produce water inside schools, government offices and houses. WaterGen. So follow the company. I think if you take the companies that raised the budgets, 800 companies in the last 5 years focused on energy in general. Among them, 200 companies focused only on water. All the solutions for water. I think from desert, we became a small empire of producing solutions to the world, not only for Israel. And if you know, Abraham Accords that will spread to Saudi Arabia and inshallah also to Lebanon and other countries, will include some solutions to help them in the desert of water and energy for their agricultural and living.
Most interesting and very little known facts of what you just presented. And let me go now to Mr. Eleftheriadis from Deloitte. Perhaps you'd like to have some contribute some concluding remarks.
Yeah, thanks. I would say that because the main topic was energy and water, the nexus of energy and water, I would say that if we consider the fact that something like 10% of total energy in Greece comes from water, if we don't have any water or we don't have sufficient water, we might all of us understand what is going to happen with the energy prices, because all these units, they are working as baseload units. So if we don't have these units in the mix, then the prices will go significantly higher. So water is important for energy, but water is important also itself. And energy is important also for water, because we have to green also all the water infrastructure, because the water infrastructure at the moment, it's very old, not only for EDAP, not only for EAF, not only for farming, everywhere in Greece. It's very, very old. It has been designed decades ago, so we need to have a new infrastructure for water, and we have to have green infrastructure for water. So the nexus is here, and it will stay for many decades.
Thank you. Dr. Dagoumas, you have the final word. Now, what would you like to see over the coming months until the end of 2025 happening in your area of work?
The most important is to complete this law initiative concerning the merging of the water management responsibilities that will enhance our commitment to improve the water management capabilities of those operators.
So we reached the end of this session. I think we all have become a little wiser of what water means in association with energy and vice versa. And I think from what I've heard that we have a lot of work ahead of us. We have the solutions, we have the tools, but we really have to plan and integrate more the water into the energy situation. Okay, thank you all for your contribution and thank you all for listening.